Don in London, hello. April 13th, 2009, Bank Holiday Monday, Easter Monday, time 10:30. I've been lounging in bed. I've had a lie-in for a change. Anyway, my videos, all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addiction substance was alcohol. My behaviour, trying to be perfect, live up to all the expectations I had of myself and all the expectations the rest of the world had for myself. And it was impossible, an impossible ask, to be all things to all people at all times. And the reason why I felt that way, that you wanted me perfect, was I felt less than, not good enough in some way, and driven by 1,000 forms of fear. I think I was trying to get that out yesterday, but I stuttered over it. 1,000 forms of fear. If I feared something, I could imagine it worse and worse. So these days I'm learning how not to be fearful on a daily basis, because one of my defects of character, or my primary defects of character, are putting on a brave face, having a brittle ego with nothing behind it, and fear of everything and anything. So what's happened to me over the last few years, I've just learned how to have a bit more courage, faith and confidence on a daily basis, with the help of a fellowship, family, community, society, medical people. And when we're stuck in that place of addiction to either substance or behaviour, it's very, very hard to try and get out of it. And I couldn't do it on my own. I tried self-will. Self-will ran riot. My self-will, my intellect, my thinking kept me drinking. And it's only when I got to understand what my feelings were and why I had them, my feelings, my emotions, I could then find courage, faith and a bit of self-esteem, that I wasn't a complete failure or less than other people, but I had a right to actually make my life work and do it the best I can in one day and keep it in the day and don't have a bigger time frame. So I'm lucky. Excuse me. I'm lucky to have some family about still who look after me and my personal welfare, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. I don't mean that I'm dependent. I'm independent, and part of the reason why I'm independent is fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. Yes, I don't speak for AA, I only speak about my experience, strength and hope and what it does for me. And sometimes people put comments on my videos about whether AA is good or bad, and usually if a person's had a bad experience of AA, it usually means that somebody's tried to impose their thoughts on another person. And really, the way the fellowship works is simply for a person to get their choices back and then choose whether to drink or not, and do that on a daily basis. So, excuse me, what does this fellowship do for me? Well, I'll share the preamble, which is read out at the beginning of every meeting of AA I go to here in London, UK. And it goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And one of my AA friends has just put up a video all about the statistics, the 95% failure rate of AA. And where do these statistics come from? They come from surveys which are done ad hoc from time to time. Apparently there is a survey every 3 years of some people within the fellowship, which determines there could be a 95% failure rate. Well, I think it's probably 100% in the first early days of trying to get sober. There are very few people who actually come to AA at their first meeting and then find that they have found salvation. Excuse me. Because salvation takes a little bit of effort. Like anything in life, we drank hard to make ourselves feel better. And we live hard and play hard and do things to extremes when we're driven by all those forms of fear, 1,000 forms of fear, and maybe there were 10,000 in my case. I have no idea. I could be frightened of anything. But it kept me isolated and fearful to the point where I couldn't even answer the telephone or open my post. or face reality, the reality of me. And I was very, very lucky that one day it just occurred to me that all the things people had said, I cannot do this on my own. And when I realised I was just as human as the next person, and nobody was trying to make me do it on my own, I asked for help. And it was in that moment of asking for help that I suddenly realised life couldn't get any worse than it is now, but it could get better just one day at a time. And that took me 35 years to get to. And in a place of denial about an awful lot of life and whose fault it was. I was very good at blaming my background, my opportunities, and not having the right breaks. But you know what? It's all about our attitude and behaviour when we're first facing adverse living experiences as well as good living experiences. So rather than celebrate with a drink these days, I celebrate with a cup of tea, whether it's a good day or a bad day, because at the end of it, if I'm still sober, it means I'm in the game of living and experiencing life. So that's a bit about my background. Not easy, and this statistical thing can make people angry, because if you're not one of the 5% who get it on the first meeting, how on earth do you feel? Well, you feel excluded. So the answer is, we need not exclude ourselves from something which can help us. What we need to do is listen and experience some sobriety. And that's very hard when driven by a physical craving which is very demanding, and an emotional outlook which says, I want to isolate, I want to exclude, and I want oblivion. And I probably don't want to wake up ever again. That's where we get to. So, having got to that stage and then moved along a little bit, I heard all these statistics, and I asked myself, what should I apply to me and my life? What will be the right measures for me? And I simply understand my measures these days are one day at the end of it, am I sober? Emotionally, spiritually and physically? And the answer is, to a degree. But I haven't had a drink, and I haven't tried to fix myself on a substance or a particular part of my behaviour. Excuse me, I've got chesty feeling today. So, why am I prompted to say these things? Well, I've had a few emails about how can I help one of my members of family, what can I do with my friend who's like this, and what sort of message can we relay to people? I think simply the best message is to say, if you are addicted to something, either substance or behaviour, and it's doing no end of untold damage, if you try and do it on your own, you're likely to find that it won't work. And willpower is not the answer. But if you actually get in the company of people who have found a means of finding experience, strength and hope to live spiritually, which is in the moment of now, emotionally understanding where we are, and physically not craving that need to fix, then help is at hand. And it need not be AA, it can be anything. So I haven't got around to doing the daily readings. Anyway, the daily reflections, very briefly, in this book today. For April the 13th, it says, the false comfort of self-pity. Self-pity is one of the most unhappy and consuming defects that we know. It is a bar up to all spiritual progress and can cut off all effective communication with our fellows because of its inordinate demands for attention and sympathy. It is a maudlin form of martyrdom which we can ill afford. And it goes on to say, the false comfort of self-pity screens me from reality only momentarily, and then demands, like a drug, that I take an even bigger dose. If I succumb to this, it could lead to a relapse into drinking. What can I do? One certain antidote is to turn my attention, however slightly at first, towards others who are genuinely less fortunate than I, just on a daily basis, preferably other alcoholics in need of help. In the same degree that I actively demonstrate my empathy with them, I will lessen my own exaggerated suffering. And when I say, we can all suffer together, or we can all keep well together, it's a bit of all of those things. So the serenity prayer, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, just for today.